Oh, hey, everybody. It's the Strangeville Stink Show, Strangeville Stinkhouse Web Show. My
Stink,
name's Kevin.
stink show, strange show, stink, strange showville, stink, stay, strange showville. Isn't that it?
I think that's it.
Might be.
What's up, brother?
What's up, dude? Good morning.
I was just joking that you every time we connect and make sure that we have audio and video ready to go. You just jump in, man. You start telling me all the plans for the day and everything, and you've learned now to cut yourself off after a couple seconds. And be like, I should probably say this on the show.
I barely talk to other humans other than my woman and my kids. So whenever I have a human that will communicate with me, sometimes I can rattle a little bit,
When you get that ear.
Yeah. So, but
500 subscribers, dude.
Yeah, it might have been 501 this morning. I can't remember.
Yeah, it fluctuates.
Yeah.
We've already hit 501, and then we dropped to 499, and then 500, and we did grab a new subscriber today. It's pretty cool. Thanks for the follow, everybody. Thanks for subscribing. This is a show we do Monday to Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, while we draw comics and talk that shit.
Today is Friday, isn't it? It's our second week.
It is.
Second full week.
And we already blew our fucking. We already blew our Friday guest format.
Right. Well, I mean,
we'll go ahead and do this live. This is an open invitation to illustrators and artists and other creative types. If you would like to hang out with us, if you want to throw down, draw some shite live on the internet for an hour, we would like to have you. We'd like to have you. Contact us. You can contact me or Brad. Our Instagram pages are linked below. You can contact us through there. You can comment on any of our videos. We will respond quickly and jovially. Is that a word?
I think I'm not the guy to ask, man. I make up my own words daily. It's just not the guy to ask, but it works as a word,
So yeah, open invitation. We gotta start putting a schedule together and get a. We don't want to have somebody on here every day, but we do. We would like ideally to do it on Fridays, but we're open. We're open to other schedules.
It's like seven.
Open like a butthole.
Here. Yeah, it's like 7-Eleven up in here. We're open.
Open like a whore's butthole.
Buttholes. So what I was jabbering at you already about this morning was that I got every bit of my comics pretty much fucking done, dude.
You showed me the cover today.
I did.
You showed me the cover.
Now
tell me, how does that feel? I keep out, how does it feel, bro? How does it feel? But honestly, for me, the minute that cover is locked, that's a comic book.
Yeah, it really, because I had all these pages of story, but something about the cover gives it like its identity,
It does. It gives it its face.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like the thing then you start to see it as like a comic book. At least that's how it was for me. Once that was out, then I started to see it as, oh fuck, man, I really made a comic book.
Making comics it's a lot. It's like a puzzle. You're just constantly trying to fit pieces into the puzzle, and it first it's malleable. There's no shape. It's just a lump of protoplasmic clay, if you will. It's like pure imagination, and then you tear little pieces of the clay apart and you put your puzzle together. And I really think that once you decide on that cover and land the cover, that really gives you the face of the piece, and it draws the whole thing together. It really brings the room together, dude.
Yeah, that's it. I wound up last minute changing the name of what I'm going to call the book. And that kind of just, I don't know why, but it was like once I saw the cover, then I was like, oh man. And it just kind of seemed like the thing I should call it. You know what I mean? So
yeah. You're calling it Legend of Lumpgore now, right?
Yeah, the Legend of Lumpgore.
That's a good title, bro. That's a catchy one. And I like that one.
So I was when we got it done last night and I looked at it, I was like, well, it was like the first time it ever kind of came full circle that not only was it almost done, but also that it really was a comic book, you know.
So what's your plan?
Other like I think I said the other day that I'm a terrible speller, so I am still, making sure with all my lettering and everything, all my spelling's right. But um, I'm not gonna. I think that I'm getting really close to being able to say that I'm good on that too, And so
Now, there's something that you should be careful about. This is something that I do. I think you've seen as I work. I lay those. I lay my pages into the template, and
uh-huh.
then I sort of drop the opacity on the template to make sure that all my panels fall within the bleed areas.
That's
But
exactly.
it's also really important to make sure all your word bubbles fall within that bleed area.
Yeah, yeah. I've been. I mean, this book honestly does have things that they'll be cut off, but I did it on purpose. There's
Yeah.
all the way off the page.
I
Um,
do that. I do that too, but I'm mindful about what is going off the page.
yeah, that's what I've done, and I did that same thing where you can turn it down and see your template to make sure everything that you want to be in is in, and everything that you want to be out is.
The proof for my first issue, I got it back, and I was pissed off because like two of my word bubbles had gone so far off the bleed area that the actual lettering, because if a word bubble itself is kind of cut off a little bit but your lettering is within, that's acceptable. But my actual lettering got cut off in the bleed in the proof. I was like, God damn it. And I had to reformat and resubmit my print files for that first issue.
Yeah, I have a couple spots where a little bit of a word bubble gets cut off, but never any text. Um, so and I'm completely okay with that.
Good deal.
But I've been mindful of that the whole time. Because honestly, dude, when I first started making this book, I like finished an entire page, and then I contacted you and was like, how do I know what size to make this thing?
Yeah, what size is this, bro?
Then you
It's like, well,
sent me that template, and then I was like, all right, well, then I had to redo the entire. Like, I had to draw the entire first page over.
and keep in mind that template is for that particular printer.
Yeah, that's just
If you switch printers, you got to switch templates too.
yeah, that's what I kind of figured that it was just how they do it.
I've noticed that a lot of people. I don't like to say the name of the printer because you can be doxxed in a way,
Yeah,
and that if you get an outrage mob after you or your comic, they will try to put pressure on anyone involved, and then that includes a printer. They're not they being anyone that forms an outrage mob is not above contacting a printer and trying to get your comic book printing canceled and forcing you to go to more and more obscure printers in order to do your work. So I have seen creators that do use this same printer and they shout out who it is, and I always think to myself, like, you guys that's kind of risky. Like, I'm proud of the work that this printer does, but at the same time, I don't like to say who it is because I don't want them involved in internet drama.
no, yeah, and they do awesome work. The quality of the books that they make is honestly great, I think.
This setup that you have right now with your camera over your head,
Yeah.
your nose is coming into the bottom of the shot just enough to look like a dick.
Well, I mean, it might. How do you know? How do you know what I'm doing? You don't. You don't know my techniques, all right? And if I'm not dangling dick over this picture, it's not going to turn out right.
My friends used to make fun of me when I made movies and said that I always wrote my scripts while chronically masturbating. And I said, that's maybe not that far from the truth.
You're like, well, the real thing is that I'm always chronically masturbating.
Exactly.
Everything that I do is done while chronically masturbating.
Exactly. I mean, you could say the same thing about cooking dinner at night. I bet you chronically masturbate while you cook dinner. Well, you're not. That's not too far from the truth.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
Oh man! So when are you going to launch this campaign?
I'm thinking mid next week or early next week, sometime next week is what my plan is, and I keep going back and forth in between how I'm gonna do it or what I'm gonna do and what my goal should be as far as like what I want to hit. Um, I can't really. That's the stuff I still. It's like I don't fucking know it, but I know I'll probably do some stickers. As far as like for the stretch goals. The other thing I was thinking about doing is just making like one bundle, where it's like the comic, a bunch of stickers, and maybe like a couple prints, and then having that be one set price, and that being all that I offer, or offering just the comic by itself, or a package like that,
Yep.
different price.
Yep. Now we're getting into it. This is what's fun for me, man.
Yeah.
The marketing and packaging strategies. This is what really gets me going.
So I was thinking I could do that. I could do like where you could just buy the comic, or where you could just or you could buy like a package that came with. I'd make some stickers from art from the comic, but I could also just put some stickers of just like the stickers I make all the time anyway.
Yeah.
And then I could get a couple prints of different, a couple big cool scenes out of the book, and then off of that is like a pack, so just have the book by itself and then like a collector's pack of different stuff.
That same printer that we're talking about, they offer 11 by 17 posters for like $1 something a piece.
I saw
no minimum order.
Yeah, me and Amanda were looking at that. That was another thing I was thinking I could put together just like a cool, like you can get just the book by itself, or you can get this big kind of like collector's pack with the book and a bunch of like swag. And then that could just be two options. And then also it would be, it'd be like kind of fairly easier. It'd just be like they either bought this one or this one, and then I keep going back and forth on if I should do like where you can get a digital files of it, or if I should leave it as just where like it's just the book, or should I make it where you could pay, like $2 or $3 and get it as a digital format?
Well, for me, that decision came down to the fact that I had to put this comic into PDF files one way or the other. Mm-hmm. That was happening one way or the other, and it seemed to me my strategy for Dead Shit, the comic book issue 1, was to have the cheapest entry that I could provide and have it already available, so that there was no question about whether this product was going to become available, and 2, that the barrier of entry was as cheap as I could make it. So I made $2 digital comics that were already done, because no one has ever bought a comic book from me before. Yeah, and I wanted to allow people to take an opportunity to take a chance on me without investing heavily monetarily in it, and not having to take a chance about whether or not the comic will actually be written and drawn, because I have no track record. I have no history. I'm coming into comics with a resume that's blank. Yeah, that's a resume that has other things. I've proven that I can make movies. I've proven that I can write novels, but I have not proven that I can provide a comic book.
Right, and see, I've proven that I can eat chicken wings. I don't even have that. So that's kind of what I was thinking, is that like no one knows who I am. No one's gonna, no one, like maybe if they bought the digital files, it'd be an easy way for them to at least like check out my book, and like at the end of the day, like I didn't make this thing to get like rich. I don't, I made this thing just to make it for myself, and then to share it with people, and if people like it, then that's a success to me. So if I get it out there to people, if they're like $2 is a safe, easy way, like you said, to try something out. And there's been a lot of times when I was big into music that I'd go and there'd be some weird obscure band I could buy like a 2-song demo for like $2 or $3, $5, and I do it, So that's kind of what it is.
I think each medium is a little bit different in how people react to it today. For music, you almost always have to give it away for free now.
Mhm.
People want to be able to listen to the music for free, and I think it's because there's such an abundance of even a particular artist's music. You're not releasing one song, right? We're
Yeah.
releasing one comic,
Yeah.
but when you're putting out one song, if you don't charge for it, if you give the song away for free, or if you give a series of songs, if you put an EP out of 6 or 7 songs and make it free and then charge for the LP later,
Yeah.
that makes sense because that's the consumer market for music is driven by free samples. And it
Yeah.
hasn't always been that way, but it is that way now. And I don't think it's ever going to change and go back the other way. That's just is what it is. And it's been a lot of growing pains. And a lot of people have been hateful about that on both sides. One side that just wants to steal everything and never pay for it and cackle in the face of whatever, that somehow they're getting one over on the man because they're stealing an artist's music. And then on the other side, there's been bands like, you remember the backlash from Metallica 20 years ago
No,
when they
Napster.
yeah, when they battled Napster and tried to stop people from being able to take their music. It took them it took them about 20 years. They're only, I would say Metallica is only in the last few years sort of come back to a point where they're not just a Napster joke.
Yeah, people
Um,
make fun of them nonstop. Like,
and you'll notice that I believe every single Metallica album is free on YouTube. Like they totally capitulated. They spent a lot of time on their image to try to um, walk that back. The idea that these filthy, mega rich rock stars were going to pilfer you for your dollar.
yeah,
But again, that's music, and everything's a little bit different. When if I go to a convention and sell DVDs, 10, 15 bucks for a DVD ain't no thing. 10, 15 bucks for a novel ain't no thing. People will pay that. And in fact, there's a big there's like a lot of arguing back and forth in the literary world, which is just a bunch of douchebags that I pretty much don't like any of them. But one of the things that they argue back and forth about is a lot of people will put up their digital books on Kindle for free.
yeah,
And what ends up happening is, and I've done a lot of free promos over the years for my novels on Kindle, and what ends up happening is a lot of people will download your book. Thousands of people will show up and download your book on free download day. Very, very few of the people who download your free book will actually read your free book. And the reason is because if they invested nothing in it, if there's no investment in it, then the value of it is extremely low.
yeah,
Basically, all a free Kindle book does is take up hard drive space on a Kindle. And these people will download like thousands of free books and they'll never get to them. They'll never get to those books to read them. And so I always notice that I get, like, when I don't put my book up for free, like I used to release my book for like $4.95 on Kindle, which is kind of a high bracket
mm-hmm.
first, and I would get low sales on it, but I would get a lot of return as far as Amazon reviews. The Amazon reviews would come in about 2 to 1. For every 2 books I sold, I would get 1 Amazon review, and it was because if they spent
they were actually reading it,
yeah, if they spent $5 on that book, it's because they wanted to read it right away.
Yeah.
And so again, you have to when I hear you say things like, I don't want to get rich off this, I don't consider the monetary value of my art to be anything more than an investment to a reader to make the reader take the art seriously enough to actually read it or watch it.
Yeah.
And to me, it's all about us getting readers. What we want for our comic books is we want readers of our comic books. We want people to enjoy themselves, to laugh at our jokes, to have fun, and to want to come back and do that with us again and again and again.
Yeah.
And so the question is, what is an appropriate monetary investment so that reader feels like they've invested enough that they will actually sit down and consume the product and then want to come back for more? And that's sort of the question you have to ask, because you could just put that PDF for free on the internet.
Yeah.
If you're not worried about money, you could just throw that comic book out for free. But my warning is, free is worthless.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, what's like the going price of like a Marvel book right now? Like,
well, and that's not a very good indicator either, because they mass print,
that's
a million copies of that.
Like when you look at those, you look at those, but it's nothing. Like you see, most indie books that you see are $8 to $10 when you see indie books, and so I think that also the thing is that whenever you have a lot of these indie books, people they look at it more as like Marvel's got a giant team of people that not only do they mass produce them, but I mean the way that they're made is if I had 15 people helping me make this book, I could have did it in a day.
Right.
You know what I mean? Probably. Like maybe not a day, but a lot faster. And then I think that when you get into these indie comics, some of it is that people that are into these comics and appreciate these comics kind of think to themselves like, man, one or two people sat here and made this whole thing. There's something that's worth more to a person that is passionate about this stuff, to think about this as one person's work instead of like they got 15 people who do, it's shopped out kind of,
Not to mention, since we do low numbers of printing, like low print orders, that makes the price of each comic book way higher than people might expect.
Yeah.
So an $8 to $10 30 to 40 page comic book is very fair for
like
an indie comic.
It costs the price to print an issue of this for us what it costs to buy a Marvel comic.
Right. So I set my print at $8 for the first 2 issues, and it'll be $10 for this third issue, since the third issue is going to be 52 pages, which is almost twice as long as the first issue.
Huge.
Because well, I set it at $8, and I wish I could have sold it for $4. I really, really wish I could sell these comic books for $4 a piece. That would be my ideal price. But until I'm selling 1,000 or 5,000 of them, I can't make them that cheap. I have to sell. My minimum amount that I was going to accept for this book was $8, and it felt like it was a little high. But I also went into it like, okay, what's the reaction going to be? And the people that were into it did not seem to hesitate to throw $8. It seemed like that was a very fair price for the consumer. In fact, I had a guy recently who he read the comics. He got a free copy of Cockhammer with his copy of Dead Shit the comic book, and he said he wanted more movies. He said, I want to watch some more of your movies, and he wanted to watch Stiff Jobs, and he asked me how much it was. I told him it was $10 DVD, and he got weird. He was like, why is it so expensive? And I said, what do you mean expensive? I said it's a DVD case, and it's got special features and everything. I'm not just, because Cockhammer just came as a free disc,
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the value of Cockhammer was zero to him because it was free with the comic. But the fact of the matter is I have 1,000 copies of Cockhammer from a distribution deal I made 10 years ago, still laying around my house.
You told me.
So for me,
you told me that it just.
Yeah. So for me, giving copies of Cockhammer away doesn't cost me anything. I spent that money 10 years ago. For the actual these DVDs here, these actually cost me something to produce and have shipped to me. So charging $10 for one of these things, to me that's just a price of a DVD.
Yeah.
Of course, that's what you're going to pay. And he got weird with me about it. I was like, yeah, man, I got to charge you $10 for it, dude. It's worth it. I promise.
Yeah.
But $8 for the comic was nothing. He didn't care about that at all. And I think that's high. So it's weird. It's weird how people will react to your pricing. But I would keep in mind that your pricing, again, is an investment to your reader or your fan, and not something that people are going to really necessarily think you're greedy for asking for money, because free things are worthless to them. They if your goal is to have readers, giving it away for free isn't going to get you that.
No. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that what I'm gonna do is just the idea that I said a second ago, where it's like you can either buy just the book by itself for $8, or I'll put together like a collector's thing, like a pack with a bunch of stickers and maybe like a poster in the book, and maybe like a couple prints of even like some concept art or something, and then have that set at like a different, a little bit more, and then that just be it, that'd be like the two options that you can pick, is just the book by itself or the big package with just a bunch of different kinds of stuff with it.
Well, and then the lowest you can set the lowest you can set your goal is $500,
Mm-hmm.
which is what I did. I set mine at $500 because I had no idea if anybody was going to care. And then you have two options for your when you set that goal. You can do a fixed goal or you can do a flexible goal. The fixed goal will get you a higher percentage of that to you. In other words, Indiegogo will take a smaller percentage if you do a fixed goal, which is higher risk for you, because then you have to hit that goal or else everyone gets their money refunded and you get nothing.
Yeah.
Or you do a flexible goal that Indiegogo takes a higher percentage of the end dollar amount, and then it doesn't matter how much money you make, you get all of it no matter what. So I went for a $500 flexible goal for 30 days. And that way, no matter what, if 5 people threw me $8, all 5 of those people were going to get the comic book.
Right.
That's
because that's what I think I'm gonna do too. Because then at least the people that do back it, even if you don't hit it, get the book. You know.
exactly.
And then the other thing I was thinking about doing was making. I might not do any like stretch goals, but I might make it where if I do hit my, because like I'll have that big swag pack on their thing, but I might make it where if I do hit my main goal, I'll donate a percentage to like a charity or something. You know?
There you go. Yeah, I had a charity donation at 1,500. We didn't quite get there. We got to 1,300 fine, but I was going to give to the Illinois Special Olympics if we hit 1,500. So I'm hoping we can do that. I'm going to make that the same for issue 3. If we hit 1,500, I'll donate $250 to the Illinois Special Olympics. So hopefully we can hit that this next time.
Yeah, that's what I saw you did that, and I thought that was a cool idea. So I thought maybe I'll just have the book, the big like collector's pack thing, and then if I hit my goal, I'll donate a percentage of my earnings to a charity.
I chose that charity because I was on Doug TenNaples' show and we were talking. He was busting my balls about making such a ridiculous comic book, and he was talking about charity, and him and a couple of the other guys were talking about that they all give to the Special Olympics with their book. They had a special tier where they gave money to it, and I was like, I could do that too, dude. Just because I make a comic about dicks and buttholes doesn't mean I'm not capable of donating to charity. As far as
anything, like just because we make these weird kind of like raunchy comics doesn't mean that we don't care about things,
Well, and it's also kind of putting my money where my mouth is, because I really, really dislike federal government programs, because I think that they are inefficient, and I think that the government keeps most of the money and pays these ridiculous overblown salaries to the government employees that run these inefficient programs, whereas private charities are much more efficient. More of the money of in private charities, you have to pick the right ones, because there are giant corporate private charities that are scams. But if we're talking about small local private charities, usually are far more efficient, quicker to get the money to the target, and more of a percentage of that money goes to the target than if you try to navigate these ridiculously overbloated federal government programs. So for me, that's me putting my money where my mouth is, and being a true conservative is trying to take profit that I make and put it towards a good cause that will get to the target of the charity.
Yeah.
And I've read that the Special Olympics is a good one to give to, that they are a higher percentage of their a high enough percentage of the earnings goes to the actual Olympics. And there are websites, charity websites, that will actually break down all the major charities and what percentage of the donation that you make will actually make it to the target.
Yeah.
And some of them are really bad, like like Bill. We talked on yesterday's show or after about Bill Burr. And Bill Burr Bill Burr, the comedian, on his podcast is constantly tripping about the breast cancer charity that the NFL does.
Yeah.
And they're always like wearing pink for this breast cancer charity, and it's like less than 1% of your donation actually goes to breast cancer research. The rest of it all goes to this huge bureaucracy of running the corporation that is the breast cancer charity.
Yeah, and the people that run it are driving like $80,000, $100,000 cars and multiple homes. And
Right, right. So private charity and federal programs are both offenders in that, and that they often are very greedy with the money they raise, and it doesn't make it to the point of the charity. But you can be smart about your investments and do research online and really figure that out. And I chose the Special Olympics this time because I was trying to prove to Doug that I could. Just because I'm a butthole salesman doesn't mean I can't give to the same charities he does. But I've also looked into a local veterans program. I forget what it's called right now, but it's like 90% of the donation goes to housing the families of vets that are in hospice. So
yeah,
a vet that's been put in hospice locally, and has family from around the country that want to come and see that say their goodbyes and see them to the other side. There's an actual charity that will house those families for free, free to them. They can, because of this charity, they can show up and then they can spend the time with their relative and not worry about having to stay in hotels and big travel expenses. And I thought that was a good charity, and I am very respectful of the military and armed forces. But I've been kind of hesitant to really go all in on that because I never served shit. My
yeah,
grandpa did, but I didn't. And to me, it's like how much do I really want to invest into military charity when I don't want to be seen as taking advantage of just like what we were talking about yesterday with Fangoria magazine and making gay shirts. I don't want it to look like I'm trying to like tug on the heartstrings of conservatives
yeah,
by giving to a military charity when I really have no connection to the military at all. So it's, to me, it's like I don't want to look like a fraud that's taking advantage of someone, even though I see this as a very good charity. Like I said, 90% of the donation goes towards the housing of veteran families. That's a good cause
right.
right there.
Yeah,
But then all
the ones I've been trying to decide what one I would do, and I definitely was thinking about something with veterans, or I also thought my youngest son has autism, so I thought, no, there's like a charity called Autism Speaks, I think, that does that. And then the other thing was my comic book has such a part of it that's based around kind of mental illness, because the little Riggs dude is like a kind of like a voice inside a Junior's head that can sometimes give him good advice and sometimes give him bad advice. It's got like I don't know, a real mental illness vibe going on. And so I thought about finding one that was geared towards mental illness of some sort, doing that one. But I just haven't decided which one I'm going to do yet. But I think if I hit my goal, I'll definitely donate something to a charity. Just don't know which one yet.
and the other charity that I was, and this goes a lot towards my personality and who I am as a person. What like my passion, what I would love to donate to, what I've always wanted to, I wanted to get Hack Movies involved in this back 15 years ago, was I really, really like no-kill animal shelters
Yeah.
that will take in an animal, and that animal will live their life there until they find a home, and there is no euthanasia. They won't kill that animal. The problem that I've over the years, animal rescue and no-kill shelters have become so intertwined with bleeding heart, being feminist, gay everything, because these people don't invest in families. They don't invest in children, so they imprint all of their paternal and maternal instincts into animals, and they go hard on emotional connection to house pets. I love house pets. I've had dogs and I've had cats my whole life. I have a cat right now. Little Rocco man is 10 years old this year. He's been a wonderful companion. I love him. I got him from a no-kill animal shelter back in the day, 10 years ago. But it's the culture that has sort of circled their wagons around that charity type. that I can't stand. You can have a family and have pets. To go all in 100%, like cat ladies freak me the fuck out because they have all this pent up maternal instinct and they fucking try to imprint it on cats, and cats don't give a fuck about you, lady.
No.
They don't give a fuck about you. They will never return the affection you're giving them the way a child could. You have missed an opportunity to bring a child into the world and to help create a better tomorrow by imprinting all of your bullshit onto cats. And it's those type of people that really go hard on those animal charities. And so again, it's nothing to do with the charity. It's not the fucking charity's fault. It's not the fucking animals that are in those shelters' fault. It's just me being a dickhead saying I don't like the people.
I don't like the people that do this. Yeah,
I don't like the people that do this. Fuck this charity.
It's always like, I think having a pet or two is cool, but when you find people, it's like, oh yeah, we got 8 animals in this house. It's like, what in the, I don't know. It's too much to me. Like you'll find people that are like, well, we don't want kids, but we got 8 cats, 4 dogs, 7, like, it's like,
that's what I'm saying, dude. It drives me crazy. It's like the reason you need all those animals is because your body is telling you and your mind is telling you to be parents.
Well, whenever with like my boys, like I love being a dad. I honestly like legit love babies, dude. Like if it wasn't for just, like all the other stuff it takes to raise kids and stuff, I'd have babies everywhere, dude. Babies are like the cutest, sweetest thing on earth. It's just that they're, like it does take a lot to take care of them and to raise.
You need a lot of resources. You do. And I always tell people, always look at me weird because I'm almost 40 and I say, oh yeah, I want 5 kids. What do you mean you want 5 kids? You're 40. I'm like, well, the reason I don't have 5 kids is because I don't have any money.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like at some point you got to be like, all right, this is what I can do. And then, don't have any more, but babies are awesome. But I always say this like joke that people will be like, well, I don't want kids, that's too much work. But then they go out and find other things like
they put all that work into other things.
Yeah, the one thing that I'm not like, I'll change diapers, dude. I will, but I don't like changing diapers. I don't like poop. I'm not just like, I don't like poop's the one thing that can really gross me out. I can deal with boogers, I can deal with vomit, I can deal, but poop to me is just like, ugh, but it's like you go out and it's like, well, I don't have anything poop to clean up, so I better go get this other animal that can give me some poop to deal with, like,
I became my worst nightmare, dude. I'm going to tell you a story. I've never told anybody this story before. I'm going to get real intimate with you guys, gang. Right before I started Hack Movies in like 2004, I was going to school for web design, going to college for web design, and my Photoshop teacher in that class, the more I learned about him, the more he was just he cracked me up. He had been involved in this local film that I ended up working with David Wayne Black, who's passed on now, who plays Wingate in the partner of Wolfram in Stiff Jobs and Cockhammer, and he also played himself in Nixon and Hogan Smoke Christmas, and he also played a bum in Colonel Kill Motherfuckers, and he was a zombie in Dead Shit. He and Eric A. Williams, who's Parander in Cockhammer, and he's in a host of my other films. He's in almost all of them. From Dead Shit on, I think Eric's in every single one of my movies. But Eric and Dave had been in a film that this teacher was involved in, and I had done a couple of short films and was getting ready to launch Hack Movies in my first feature film when I started taking this class. And so I sort of knew this guy tangentially through these other actors, and he was a fantastic teacher. But what I noticed about him was he was a graphic designer. He was a writer. He was a filmmaker. And he would brag about all this stuff in class. He had developed his own D20 role-playing system. Like, he didn't play D&D. He wrote his own role-playing system that he would run players through, his own system, the entire system, doing all the mathematics and all that, the stuff involved in actually creating a role-playing system takes a lot of time and effort. He also claimed to have developed his own martial arts style. Again, he wasn't a black belt in somebody else's martial arts style. He had created his own martial arts style. And as I'm getting to know him in this class and everything, and he's like telling the class about all these different things he does, all I can think is, this guy can't have kids. There's no way he could be this self-involved and self-absorbed if he has kids to take care of. And it turns out that he and his wife, they were like 45 years old at the time. They had no kids. And so she was probably a cat lady. And his whole thing was these huge self-involved projects that
kind of amazing that he even had a wife. You think about it.
Right. To be that self-involved. Well, that's why I mean she was probably a cat lady. She probably just was oblivious to his nonsense and just obsessed over cats while he was in the basement fucking creating his own
Or
kicks.
had a very loving boyfriend. You know.
Yeah, exactly. So what I told myself, I was 24 years old. And I told myself, I never want to be so self-involved that I end up like this guy. Not that there's anything wrong with him, but I just felt like the only way a person could have that many fucking hobbies is if they had no children to be involved with, no children to take care of, no children to teach, no children to experience life with, to take on adventures. And I told myself I don't ever want to be that guy. Well, I was 24 then. I'm now 38, and I'm a filmmaker. I'm a writer. I'm a comic book artist. I fucking turned into this guy, and it's because I have no kids.
I'd like to present to you the art of Strange Kundo.
Exactly. You know what I was doing before I started working on this comic book a year and a half ago? I was trying to develop my own fucking board game. I was doing all the fucking, this is the dice it takes to do this, and it's a whole board game system I was developing. And believe me, when I was doing it, I was like, I'm that fucking guy. I never had kids, and I turned into that fucking guy. And I haven't given up the hope that I can have 5 kids, but it's again, as I talked a few days ago, much to the chagrin of our female audience, if we have any, is that women peak young and men peak old. The advantage I have of being male is I could be 45, 46, 47, 48 and still create a family with a much younger woman.
Well, and maybe you could like get like an Octomom scenario going on, you know?
Yeah, just fill her up with fertilization drugs and kick all 5 of them out at once.
Bada bing, you know? There you go.
Quintuplets, baby. We're having quintuplets.
Yeah, and then you'd be like, man, we should have just got a bunch of cats. You know,
this is Kevin Jr. This is Kevin Jr. 2. This is Kevin Jr. 3.
Yeah, you got to name them all your name. I mean, it's. You want to see,
brother.
If it's gonna be how self-absorbed can you be, then you definitely got to name all your children the same name as you. You know,
I never wanted to be this guy, brother. I wanted to make movies, make enough money off the movies that I could get married and have kids and live comfortably. And that turned into, well, I can't make money off the movies, so I'm going to write novels. Now I just need to write enough novels so I can make enough money to get married and have some kids. And I didn't make any money off the novels, and now I'm doing comics. It's like the goal has been the same, dude. I've had the same goal since I was 25 years old. I want to make enough money at art that I can raise a family. And there's a lot of men that I'm getting real off the reservation today. There's a lot of men that are in my position who are very creative and living the starving artist lifestyle. And a lot of times, as a starving artist, you never make money. You're never going to make money, and that's fine. And again, you don't see me on this show ever really talk about money. From that perspective, I'm not trying to get rich. This isn't a get rich quick scheme. I'm not making comics because I think it's going to make me $1 million. All I've ever wanted is to make enough that I can get married and have a family. There's a lot of men in my position who will take on the maternal role. They will stay home with the kid. They will marry a woman that has a career, and they will stay home with the kids and raise the kids themselves while doing their art, whatever that art may be, whether it be music or comics or writing or filmmaking or whatever. But the men will take on the maternal role of raising the children, while the wife goes out into the workforce and creates the resources. Um, Unfortunately, being the prideful, cocky alpha male that I am, I refuse to take on a a submissive role in a relationship. And that's not to discount the role that housewives have, because they have a very important role. In fact, I think that role is actually more important. I think there's more responsibility in the role of the parent that stays home and creates the household and creates the rules of the household and creates the attitude of the household, and is in charge of education and is in charge of growing the little ones into big ones. I think that's actually a more important, and that role has more responsibility, but it's not the role of the captain, right? The captain of the ship is the one that goes out and collects the resources and brings the resources back to the household. That person has more of a that parent has more of a how am I trying to say this? Since the money is theirs, they earned it. They have more of a say in what happens with the money, because at any given time they could say, "Well, I'm not going to do that anymore," and then the whole family is suffers as a consequence. And I've never wanted, and I've dabbled with that. I've dabbled with dating real dominant women that want to earn and have a career, but I've never pulled the trigger to make that a woman that I married and had a household with, because I always felt like when it came down to it, if we disagreed about any particular family argument, if we were having a family argument, it always came down to her saying, it's going to be my way because I make the money. And then you can't argue with that. And I don't want to ever be in that position as a member of a household, that I'm told what I have to do because the other person makes the money. Which isn't to say that I will treat my wife that way, that I'm going to come home from work and say, I made the money, therefore it's my way or the highway. But I'm saying I want to avoid myself ever being put in that position, because I think I'm more of a benevolent earner in that respect, in that I would give my wife much more of a say in the cultivation of the family culture and atmosphere than I would be given on the reverse end. Does that make sense? That I think that if I'm in control of the finances, I'm going to be much more free with them and much more willing to compromise. And I don't want to be put in a position where I'm with someone that isn't compromising and just tries to tell me what the fuck I'm going to do because I don't make the money.
But I also think that there's probably a lot of women out there that would say that the reason they like to earn is because of the same thing.
Right. Exactly. You know? But I'm saying that as
it comes down to like if that's what it would take to make you happy, then that's what you have to do, what makes you happy, you know. But there, I think there's a lot of women out there that kind of do enjoy being the breadwinner, and it works. And they're
more so now than ever.
Yeah,
right. And more so now than ever. It's a woman's world, and the women are the.
And I think that in some situations it works really well. I also think that there's men out there that do as good of a job at being the homemaker as there are as women that do it. I think that it's I think there's also men out there that do a terrible job at it. But also,
yes, we call those men homosexuals, Brad. We call those men homosexuals.
Yeah. I think
I'm kidding. It's a joke.
You make those jokes all the time, then you got to remember to say that it's a joke. You know.
you're like.
I wonder why everybody hates me. You know, and then it's that you make a joke, but then you make a joke, but then you forget to be like, I was joking. You know.
We've been getting some feedback, Brad. The people have spoken. I've been getting some of my friends have been calling me chit chatting and letting me know they've been listening to the show.
Oh, cool. So it's not just people saying that we're fat or we're bald. Or...
No, I want you to I want you to know that that the feedback I've gotten has been very positive for you personally. People seem to like you a lot, which is good because they need to like one of us.
Well, that's, I mean,
right. One of us needs to be liked, and I'm perfectly happy with that person being you. I'm gonna go check and see if we have any chats. I did get yelled at the other day for not reading a chat fast enough. Let me go see if we have any.
Beyond those motherfuckers.
No chats. No chats. That's all right. That's all right. Okay, let's come back in here. I didn't draw anything today. We still got some time. I actually want to show you guys. Do you have anything? I've been kind of babbling the whole time.
Me? Do I have anything?
I want to show you guys. I want to show you guys something that I worked on a couple of days ago. I didn't get a chance to talk about yesterday, but I don't want to steamroll over you if you have something you want to talk about.
I'm literally. I finished my entire book, and I'm just, for the next couple of days, I'm gonna just kind of go back to pencil and paper, and have like a week or so where I just kind of draw for fun before I go into my next project. You know. So
yeah.
And what I was thinking about doing is these are some things that I drew and then either used in the comic or redrew for the comic. But the reason I'm doodling these all out and coloring them and stuff, I think I'm going to do a giveaway on Instagram. And so I think I might give away, a couple of these drawn images that were drawn for the book,
There you go.
When I release on Instagram that the book's finished, I'm going to do a giveaway,
There you go. That's fantastic.
So that's what I'm for the next week. I just kind of want to go back to drawing just for nothing for for a little while, just for fun with no purpose in it. And then I'm going to do some of these and then give them away as giveaways. So that's what I'm doing.
That's cool. Can I show you something?
Yeah. As long as it's not, little Kevin.
Literally my asshole.
Yeah. Little Kevin. We'll see.
Let me get over here to Clip Studio. Can you see that?
Oh.
Okay, so this is a page that I was working on a couple of days ago, and the context of it is in the previous page, giant zombie Tony with zombies sticking out of his face has fallen down, and then the very next page, she's on top of him. And I do have like some motion lines, and I do have like an action word. It's going to say like pounce across here. But I felt like this sequence of 4 panels wasn't enough to tell the story of her leaping onto his chest, growing a giant dick, flipping him over, and raping him in the butt. I felt like these 4 panels just weren't enough. So what I ended up doing was I ended up switching it to this.
Oh.
And so you can see over here, this is that first panel, and then this is that second panel, and the third and the fourth panel. So when I turned 1, 2, 3, 4 panels into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I turned 4 panels into 9 panels. So this first panel, I drew her leaping up into the air, and Nixon and Hogan down here to kind of show the perspective of how big she is. And then I showed them running across Tony's giant chest because they just disappear. Like in the shot before, they're standing next to Tony fighting zombies, and then I just jumped to her pouncing on him, and Nixon and Hogan weren't anywhere. So I thought I needed to show them running away. So I drew her leaping, them running away, then her pouncing, and then I wanted to do the action shot of the dick actually growing out of her vagina, which is pretty disturbing.
I was just gonna say, so tell us about this middle sequence here. What do we?
Yeah. Well, I didn't, because again, down here at this bottom left-hand panel, panel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, panel 7 down here, I was gonna put grow line, and I still will put motion lines and have the word grow actually down here as an action to make it seem like that dick is growing out of her. But I was like, it would be really cool to actually show that thing like birthing. Like turning the vagina inside out, turning into a giant dick.
It's like one
And
of
then
those where when you wish a comic book could have an actual sound effect.
So this is one of those pages I told you the other day. I was really kicking my ass. Was a real nut buster of a day because I had to completely, redraw this stuff. Like I had to take all this stuff. This was probably a 2.5 hour page because I had to like redesign and redraw all this.
And you've got a couple recently that you did like a full rework of the page. But this is definitely a way more in depth and actually even just way more entertaining to the eye page than that other one.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen a vagina turn inside out into a giant dick. I hadn't.
Only in my dreams, Kevin. So if this did have like an actual sound effect, what do you think it would be? If there was like a way to make when you turn this page and read that sequence, you hear a sound. What do you think?
Well, I'll probably draw a sound effect over all three panels, like connecting them. It'll probably be something like this. It'll probably be something like
There you go. What's the sound when Pinocchio's nose grows? What's that noise? What happens when it's like? Or it could just be like the go-to would be like.
Anyway, as we we're kind of showing each process here as we build our comics to our audience, and I wanted to show everybody that sometimes even that was I did that as a thumbnail with the four panels, and then I did the rough outline as 4 panels, went and did the hard pencils as 4 panels, and when it came down to it and I started inking it, I was like, not good enough.
Then redid all of it.
And I might be overthinking it. That might have been sufficient right there. That might have been fine, but I think it looks cooler this way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the first one definitely it was like sufficient, but we talk a lot about if you're making one of these books and you're putting the time into it, and then you look at it and you're like, man, I could do this better. Like you might as well just do it, because you only make these once, and if you really rush through things, the only person you're kind of screwing is yourself. If you look at something and know I could do this better, then you might as well do it.
This is how I feel some days. This is how I feel some days. Poor Tony.
And we could go into a whole different array of sound effects for that shot right there, but we'll stay away from more of a kind of thing.
Poor Tony.
Poor old Tony.
Yeah. I don't do a lot of 9-panel pages. This is one of the only 9-panel pages. This might be the only 9-panel page.
I was gonna say I feel like that's the most panels I've ever seen in one of your books so far.
Yeah, for some reason I do mostly 3 to 5 is my almost always my limit, and I don't know why that is. I end up blowing them up. If you watch my movies, you'll notice the same thing. Almost all of the shots in my movies are these extreme close-ups on people's faces. So these big, giant panels of people's faces and emotional reactions to the ridiculous things that are happening. That's just my style for some reason. I don't know why. I did this yesterday.
Yeah, dude. You showed me this, and I thought it was fucking awesome.
This double page spread. This took a long time.
I bet.
This took a long time, and I'm not 100% happy with it yet. I'm gonna do more stuff. I'm gonna do more stuff like over here in the left-hand corner where there's more circle objects than there are just black specks. I'm probably gonna do a lot of those here. I'm gonna line this whole piece of the mountain probably in circles like this. That'll make the page. But it's pretty much I laid it in there pretty good. That's if you see down there in the left hand corner, Hogan has he's come across the other side of the Pepper Portal into the Deadlands, and that's the Lord of the Dead up there. That giant Cyclops dragon
perched up there like a gargoyle.
Yeah, perched up on that mountaintop like a gargoyle, and it's all obviously it's just a mountain of bones. It's just a world of death and skulls, and see how instead of like pepper plant posts, it's the same. It's in the same design around it, but it's a bunch of skulls.
Yeah, I was looking at
So
it.
it's like
Yeah.
And then it's funny because it goes back and forth now. I have another page here I'll bring up in context. Find it. So it's like Hogan's bottom half is still out here in the real world with Nixon giving him shit, but his top half is stuck in the Deadlands. And the whole point is the Lord of the Dead here is like he wants the power of the talisman. It's always about that talisman, man. And so
I love those the piles of skulls all over the place. It's a really neat.
Yeah, that was tough. What I had to do was I really had to tell myself, slow down, take your time. It's going to look great if you draw 1,000 skulls in a giant pile. Just do it because I just want to move fast. I have no deadline. Issue 3 isn't for sale yet. I haven't promised a delivery date. I can take as long as I need to take to make this comic look great. And so that's kind of what I did yesterday. It was like, you're not going to get a lot of pages done, but you're going to get a lot of skulls drawn.
Yeah, let's draw the shit out of skulls today.
Yeah, so that's what I did. And like I said, I'm not quite done yet. I still want to lay in some more of the lesser detailed skulls throughout that mountain. But yeah, and I'm gonna color it all cool too. I think it's gonna be like the whole Deadlands, like all the skulls and everything are gonna be like a muted red, almost like a reddish purple, like a dark reddish purple.
Yeah.
And then something like this. Something like this.
Yeah. That's almost like what they call like a burgundy color or something, kind of. They call it like. Well, then the other thing is whatever colors you do all down there, and then whatever you wind up doing in your sky can really make all those colors down there bang, because you can do something up in your sky that kind of contrast.
Yeah.
What you got going on down here, and then that can really make these colors down here. There's a lot of importance in that background of these scenes. Like the background can make the whole like scene come to life, like it's done right.
I was thinking about doing like a teal color for the background.
Yeah, it's something that's gonna make that burgundy-ish red color really slam, And then you can do some gradients and shit in that teal color too.
Oh yeah. And in all this.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Something like that, maybe. I might go for more of a like a dead, like keep it all instead of going cool and hot. I might keep it all kind of cool a little bit.
Yeah, you could go with like a seafoamy green up there in the sky too. A little more of a light green, but something like that might be kind of neat too.
Could be anything. And then of course that that pit is bright green. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to have it like under lit. So it's going to be like all that burgundy is going to hit that. All the burgundy is going to hit like the as a top light, and then and then I'm going to have an underlight coming from that green, like that green's glowing up onto Hogan's underneath his face and underneath his clothes. And it's just going to be a lot of fun to color. It's the Deadlands are going to be. I've been looking forward to the Deadlands since I wrote the comic.
That scene right there looks really cool, but I bet there's going to be a ton of fun ones just to draw all around when they're in there. You know.
Yeah. They're in there for a little bit. They're not in there. They're not in here for a super long amount of time. Maybe 10 pages. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be a cool page. Kind of really like that.
How far are you from there?
From where?
From being that to like, oh, I guess you're inking still, aren't you? You work different a lot of the time. I'll start inking. I'll finish a page by page by page, and you go where
right.
So you work where you do all your inks and then go back and all your flats.
Yeah, so I'm at the Deadlands, but I'm only at the Deadlands in the inking phase. So it's actually going to be a couple of weeks before I actually get to color any of that. Before I get to drop in the flats. This is the next page. This is where Nixon starts trying to pull him out of the fucking portal, but he can't. And again, I'm back to that's a 4-panel page, and just giant panels of just basically facial expressions and reactions. One of the reasons that I draw that big though is because you see how big I've got that word bubble.
Uh-huh.
Like he goes on like a mini little rant right here, and then this one is going to be like here. It's like a lot of these pages get filled up with dialogue.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at the layout, it looks weird because there's so much dead space, but that's almost all filled up with word bubbles.
Yeah, that's something that I really have to think about more when I draw these comics, is where my word bubble is going to go, because you focus so much on making the cool looking scene, and then it's like you spend all this time on this thing, and then it's just covered by a word bubble and nobody even sees it, you know?
Right. Or you draw it all too tight and you don't have any room for the word bubble.
Yeah, dude, there had to be some real creative word bubbling in this book I did, because I didn't think about it all the time. You know, I'd have like a loose idea where they'd go, but it wasn't definitely planned all the time. So I think for what it is, we pulled it off pretty smooth, you know, but it's definitely something that I'll think a lot more about for my next book.
Yeah.
Creative shaped word bubbles and stuff can really help too, you know.
Oh yeah, you got to, and there's a whole art to it. Like I had to dive into it when I first started the comic project. I was like, how in the fuck am I going to translate these Hack Movies monologues into a comic book? And then I had my friends tell me, you can't, bro, you can't. There's no way you're going to do it. Had some naysayers, and I had to prove them wrong. And one of the things I did was I went and bought Kevin Smith's Clerk comic book series.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, if Kevin Smith can write a fucking comic book, I can write a fucking comic book. And some of that stuff is hilarious.
Yeah, dude.
There will be a tiny head down here and the entire fucking panel full of dialogue. And I don't go that extreme, but that was Kevin Smith being like, I'm going to write this comic exactly like I write a movie. And I don't think it translates well. So I've had to be creative about how I present that. And one of the things that I do is I just make, like, the reason you see 3 and 4 and 5 panel pages for me instead of 9 panel or 12 panel pages is because I can fill this space up with dialogue, and I can have what could be, you know, if this top panel here, if this top panel was was just, he was down, his face was down here, and I put the whole fucking monologue of the page here in this word bubble. It just wouldn't be as cool as breaking it up and having him say one thing here, another thing here, a couple things here, and a couple things here. And so he's done his whole monologue, but it's over the course of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 word bubbles.
Yeah, and they all have like those things that attach them, like a
little tails.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I use those in my book, and then but I will say, dude, your book has a lot more text than my book does.
I got a lot to say, Brad.
No, you
got a lot to say.
Could never imagine that you're always so quiet.
Such a quiet man.
Such a quiet guy. Almost like you have. It's like it's almost like you have opinions about things.
All right, brother. I think that's our show.
That's it.
I think so.
Well,
let me turn back into human mode.
Human mode activated.
Yeah, I didn't draw a fucking thing today. That's okay. I've got a lot of work to do, but I'll get going.
Well, it's Friday, so I guess we'll be back Monday.
We will. We'll have the weekend off of YouTube. Definitely not off working. I'm on a 4-page-a-day schedule right now, trying to finish the inks on this comic by next weekend or the beginning of the following week. By the following Monday, not this Monday, but next Monday, I want to have the inks done. What I would love to finish my inks on Friday of next week, a week from today, and then spend the weekend doing my my text and be able to start flatting on Monday. But next Monday, we will see how that goes. Life often intervenes, and I have no deadline. I don't have to have this done at any time, so I can take my time and not panic and present the best book possible.
I'm gonna draw for fun for a week, and then get my book completely finished, and then get a Indiegogo campaign put together. And that's what I'm gonna do. And if I have that done by the end of next week, then I won't complain. I might complain, but
I might complain.
It might not be about that. I might burn my tongue on a frozen burrito, or there's a lot of shit that could cause me to complain. But
you burn your tongue on the burrito, but then by the time you get to the middle, it's still frozen. What's up with that?
Well, it's kind of nice because it's like you burn yourself, but then if you just keep eating, you'll soothe that burn.
All right, brother. Till next time, gang. Hey, remember to subscribe and like this video. It helps. Leave a comment. It helps. It'll drive us up in the algorithms. I had some friends say, I wish your show had more views on it. Well, listen, guy. You liking and sharing and commenting and all that fun stuff helps get us more views. More views means more comics in more fans' hands. And that's what this is all about.
And buttholes.
It's always about the buttholes. Do you ever read the caption that I put under each episode?
Yeah. The one the other day about that try to convince me that my butthole was haunted or something like that. You have to convince me that. I've been telling everybody that for years.
All right, brother. Till Monday, stay strange.
Stinky.